honor God, we honor reality most powerfully when we truly are Christians, little Christ. That is, when we act in the present in ways that are a blessing to the future. There's no way to honor God or reality more powerfully than acting in the present, voting in the present, what you buy in the present, because everything you buy is a vote. You're voting for something, everything you buy. So whatever you buy, whatever you act, whatever you do in the present, do so with the future in mind. Do so committed to being a Christian, a blessing to the future, a salvific influence on the future. And this brings in the whole climate change thing. The American Association for the Advancement of Science, the largest and most prestigious science body in the world, came out with a very uncharacteristically prophetic statement just a month ago called the What We Know campaign. And what they said was that since 2001, from 2001 to 2012, 97% of the papers that have been written, 97% of the scientists who actually study climate say three things. Climate change is real, humans are the primary cause now, and we have to act immediately to avoid condemning our children and grandchildren to hell and high water. 97%. Now that was up to 2012. From November 2012 until now, it's 99% of the published papers. But yet, if you ask Americans, if you ask a survey of Americans, do you think that the science community is divided on climate change? 40% of them think that the science community is divided. Why? Well, one of the books that we sell out there is called Merchants of Doubt. How a handful of scientists obscured the truth on issues from tobacco to global warming. The same scientists and the same PR companies that confused the issue for 50 years. The tobacco industry, we now know, they have internal documents. The tobacco industry knew beyond any shadow of a doubt that tobacco caused cancer and many other problems in 1962. They confused the issue for 50 years to avoid the regulations that would cause restrictions on them and cause them to not make as much money. We don't have 50 years in terms of climate change. We have to stop the free or subsidized polluting the commons. And this is the interesting thing. There are some major Republicans and major Democrats who realize that that's the most important systemic thing. Because what happens is when we put, and it's called different things. You can call it fee and dividend, taxing carbon. A lot of people don't like the name tax, but it's basically no longer allowing for the free or subsidized polluting of the commons with carbon. And it also integrates the true cost into products. So things that are high carbon intensive start costing more every year. So we start naturally making better decisions with our dollars. What it does is it marshals the entire power of the global market to help all of us do the right, just, ecological thing. Because right now, as I said before, the cheaper, easier, more convenient thing to do is usually the wrong thing to do. What this does is it helps it make it so that the cheaper, easier, more convenient thing to do becomes the right thing to do. Our instincts start serving us in the right direction. And that's one of the reasons why that's the most important systemic thing that we can do. And again, as Christians, I'm assuming most of us here in this room are Christians, as Christians, as little Christs, that is where we participate in the kingdom of God. That is where we participate as a blessing. Because good, bad, this will be the last thing I'll say, then I'll open up for questions. Good, bad, great, and evil have always, in all cultures, been defined by how we impact others and how that ripples out to the future. If I am a contribution to you or to others, or a contribution to the future, and of course everything we do in the present ripples out to the future, right? So if I'm a contribution to others in the future, I've done a good thing. If I harm others or harm the future, I've done a bad thing. If I sacrifice my own needs in order to be a blessing to others in the future, I've done a great thing or a heroic thing. But if I self-centeredly serve my own needs, if I'm a corporation or an individual and I serve my own needs, to hell with others, screw the future, I've done an evil thing. This is not moral rocket science. We don't need 10 commandments to tell us this. God has been revealing this through all forms of evidence. So the thought, the idea that the meme, M-E-M-E, kind of like genes spread, or memes are ideas that spread. The meme that I want to spread the most, the meme that I think is the most useful idea that we can have, that truly helps us be Christians in the deepest sense, is to live our lives as if the past is rooting for us and the future is calling us to greatness. Now again, obviously I'm being mythic, I'm personal, I'm personifying, I'm personalizing the past, and I'm personalizing the future. But I'm suggesting that it's really useful to do that. If we act as if, simply keeping in mind, keeping in heart, the fact that countless generations of ancestors sacrificed and toiled and struggled, and if they hadn't, we wouldn't be alive. So if we hold that in our hearts, we find our hearts tenderizing. Because we realize that what tremendous sacrifices others have made, that we wouldn't even be alive. So when we take that, and then we allow in an imaginative way, how might the future be calling us to greatness? And I suggest that that may be one of the most useful beliefs that we can have. In fact, let me go ahead. I'm going to do about a 2 or 3 minute guided meditation. So you can keep your eyes open if you want, or you can close your eyes. But let's just, I just invite you to just pay attention just for a few minutes to your breathing. Just notice your breathing, either with your eyes open or closed. And as you notice your breathing, I also invite you to just notice your body resting comfortably there in the pew. And then in your own heart's imagination, I invite you to turn to the past and allow some ancestor of yours. It can be a distant ancestor that you don't know anything about, but you're just imagining, or some ancestor you actually knew or have heard about. But some ancestor, allow that ancestor to speak some encouraging word to you. How might they encourage you to be more Christian, to be more of a blessing to the future? And I'm going to be silent for about 30 seconds. And then express gratitude in whatever way feels most appropriate. And now I invite you to turn toward the future, again in your own heart's imagination, and allow some being 100 years from now or further out. It can be a direct descendant if you have kids or grandkids, or just anybody who's alive 100 years from now or further out. What might they say to you that you would find inspiring and empowering? How might they be calling you to greatness? And again, I'll be silent for about 30 seconds. And again, express gratitude in whatever way feels most appropriate. And as you continue to just notice your breathing, I invite you to make a commitment to whatever your need for reality is. I invite you to make a commitment just this week to do one thing in the next 7 days that your ancestor would be proud of, and that this future being would be brought to tears or applause.